If Western establishment leaders figured that the conflict in Ukraine would consolidate support for them to the exclusion of everything else going on inside their own countries, turns out that they were wrong. Even worse, it's starting to look like their handling of the situation in Ukraine is exacerbating their own troubles at home, and their own people are knocking them down like bowling pins, which hasn't gone unnoticed by former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev in his online trolling. The most recent member of Ukraine's EU pom-pom squad to find himself teetering on the brink and offering his resignation is Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi. Turns out that people are a lot less focused on Ukraine when they're worried about feeding themselves. Draghi relied on his coalition with the populists of the Five Star Movement to stay in power, who have been slamming him for his Ukraine policies.
At the Five Star Movement, we are absolutely opposed to a military escalation, because it would mean further suffering and carnage. So we are opposed to ever more lethal weapons. It is not a question of the type of armament, but of the political direction, if it is that of defending oneself or of counterattacking. To be clear, we are opposed to it being ever more lethal, ever heavier. We don't want to send tanks.
Populist officials have tapped into significant concern among Italians, with 45% of citizens against sending military aid to Ukraine. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson was plank-walked by his own Tory party and cabinet, exasperated in the wake of a series of domestic scandals. French President Emmanuel Macron lost his absolute majority in Parliament last month to the benefit of opposition populists who have wasted no time in blocking his legislative agenda, raising the prospects of a lame duck presidency just 3 months into his new 5-year term. At least Macron was able to bask in the admiration of his fans during the recent Bastille Day celebrations. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is now caught up in a scandal after his own party acknowledged this week that at least 9 women filed police complaints alleging that they were given a date rape drug at the annual Summer Bash, attended by Scholz and his party's MPs. Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas lost her populist coalition partner last month when they disagreed with her anti-Russian approach to the situation in Ukraine. Although she was able to cobble together enough backing to hang in there, inflation in Estonia is the highest of the entire Eurozone. And it's the populists who are gaining ground in Estonia and everywhere else in Europe to the detriment of these establishment fixtures who may not have even hit rock bottom yet. Berlin just set aside 2.4 billion euros for Ukrainian refugees, even as German taxpayers are told to brace for energy shortages due to the EU's own sanctions. A warning also echoed here in Paris. Ukraine is all these leaders have on their minds these days. It's the big rock in the middle of the bike path, and by obsessing over it to the exclusion of everything else, they risk colliding with it directly and completely wrecking themselves.